Right, so Billy Joe's now in the chat. Bill, if you just pop your camera on for us, please. There we go. So,
we're going, people.
How you doing, Bill? Thank you for your time. First off, if you pass over to David Anderson from the Daily Mirror. Dave?
Hi, Billy. Okay.
How we're going, pal? You good?
I'm indeed. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to chat to us, Bill. I was just wondering, how have you been? It's been a while since we've sort of spoken to you with all this lockdown and stuff, and you've been out for a year, really. What's your mood really ahead of this fight, really? Sort of frustration or eager to get at it or what? Or
just want to get out there and get one in before the end of the year because, there's a lot of fighters there now was obviously struggling this side of 2020 to get out. So, I've had major disappointment in this year. The Canelo fight obviously falling through in May over the pandemic. And, about to roll the dice. And here we are here with Martin Murray on Friday. So we'll see how we rock and roll.
yeah, because you've probably seen that, Bill. A few people sort of knocking Martin Murray, saying, what sort of opponent is he for you for a world title fight, etc., etc. But what's your reaction to that, really?
Well, listen, if you want to go on professional experience, he's got more experience than me because he's had more fights than me. He's challenged for the world title 4 times. I mean, I could have easily picked, somebody's name ending with, whatever. I couldn't even spell it. From Germany, France, wherever. But Martin Murray is a name. He's a 4-time challenger for the world title and should have been 2-time world champion, in my opinion, at least in 2 of them fights. So, and I promised him a shot. And if this is his last one, this is his last one. Or, if it's his lucky night, it's his lucky night. But one thing's for sure, it's his chance.
Yeah. And then, obviously, we've got Callum Smith, Canelo on the 19th. But I know you'll have an interest in that. Do you fancy the winner of that? Or what's the sort of strategy for 2021, really?
I'll leave that to my management, MTK and to Eddie Earn to make. But obviously, I would love the winner of that fight. If Smith wins it, I'm sure there's a rematch clause in there. But to win that fight, you've got to be incredibly in good shape, good mind, good health. You've got to go in there with a proper camp, and I just don't think 4 or 5 weeks is enough training camp for that sort of fight.
Is that right? Yeah, that's your big concern for Callum. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Callum's got the tools in his box to win, but you have to have the right preparation time and put the man hours in and go over and repeat that for maybe 2 months, 3 months, how to beat him, what strategy you're going to go in there with. And I just think that it's all been crash, bang, wallet, give me my cash and, let's get it on. But listen, I hope I'm wrong and I hope he gets the job done, fellow Brit.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for your time and good luck on Friday.
Thanks, David. If you go to Chris McKenna from the Daily Star next, please.
Billy, obviously you've changed trainers again. Can you just talk us through your kind of thinking behind that and why you've done that?
The other trainers, the toe was hanging out of them, so I had to change trainers. That was weared out. My other trainers, that was weared out. I had a pair of Adidas and I changed them for a pair of Nikes.
Well, what was the thinking with going to Mark Tibbs and back to the Tibbs family?
I just think that it was a decision that, lockdown come, was having no luck. I was at home and, Ben Davison, he set up a gym out in Arlo and, it was hard for him to travel away and do camps and he's got a lot of fighters there and it's not right on me dragging him around the country and around the world training camps because I can't do a training camp at home. Everyone knows I need to be away like I have this time and I don't want to go to someone fresh and new, think they know me and they don't. So I know the Tibbses know me well. Obviously, Dominic Ingle knows me well and Ben Davison knows me well. So, that was the strategy behind it.
Obviously, you mentioned there about the Canelo and Alvarez, Canelo and Callum. Was there never any option for you to maybe drop this fight and get Canelo in December, or would you not even have considered it?
No, listen, I mean, I always said in December, if the fight was in December, I always said I'd have been ready. But again, my fight with Martin Murray only got announced, 5 weeks ago? So they had all that time to get in touch and they didn't ring up. And they didn't try to get in contact. So clearly they didn't want me. But, for me to fight Canelo Alvarez, in lockdown, they sort of caught me out a little bit, but which the fight would never have happened anyway because he had his lawsuit. But I wasn't prepared just to go in there and take, millions of pounds and to turn up there half-hearted and half in shape. You got to go, like I said earlier on, to beat someone like him, you have to win convincingly. And I will be on it now until May. And if it's me in May, it's me. If not, then, 100%, I will be pushing my management company, MTK, for a big, big fight next year. It has to be unification, whatever which way it is.
Do you feel you need to put on a really good performance on Friday to force that issue home to get that big unification fight or the Canelo fight?
Do you know what? As we see the other day, we see Danny Jacobs and Rosado, so we see these type of fights and, sometimes they pan out in the favourite's favour and sometimes they don't. It's sort of a win-win for Martin Murray, really. Everyone's writing him off and everyone's saying he's old, he's finished, he's this.
Get back to me there and sure, good luck.
So, yeah.
All right. Cheers, Billy.
See you later.
Thanks, Chris. If you go to Ron Lewis from Boxing Scene next, please.
Hiya, Bill. Do you think, you've had fights in the past where, if you haven't got motivated for a big fight and, there was a classic one in Scotland, obviously. And is there any risk of this, or is Martin someone you know just so well that you know what he's got to do and you know what you got to do to not let him into the fight?
Oh, there's always a risk, mate. There's always a risk. There's a risk I could go out there and get knocked out in one round. That's why people watch boxing. There's a risk that, I could go out there and get the job done in one round. There's always a risk. There's an element of risk of people's lives in a boxing ring. So, people tune in. If they knew 100 million% I had the win and, it was all one-sided, they wouldn't watch it. But, so there's obviously that risk. But I haven't overlooked Martin. I've just trained and prepared myself the best I can for this date. So, I know how tough Martin is and I know what he's going to bring to the table and I know he don't lay down. So I know I can't afford that same sort of performance.
You said before about the importance of going away to train and get yourself away from home. How have you been during lockdown? Has it been a easy time for you, or?
Yeah, it's been all right, mate. That's all I've been doing is plenty of sex, to be honest with you. That's all I've been having, plenty of sex and just training, really. But that's the main thing. What got me through lockdown was the sex.
Excellent. Take care, Billy. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Ron. If you go to Luke Reddy from the BBC next, please.
How doing, small
Luke, you're on mute, mate. If you just take yourself off mute.
My apologies. Hi, Billy. How you doing?
How we going, Luke?
You mentioned Martin Murray's career, and he's gone close so many times. I mean, as you say, this is his last shot. I wondered, could you put yourself in his shoes? You achieved success quite young. I mean, what do you think that must be like for him mentally to have to know that it's gone this long and this is one more chance?
Well, look, Martin's got his own mind. Martin's got his own head. He's trained. He's prepared for this how he wants to prepare for it. Whether he wants to train on emotions for this fight, whether he wants to train on grit and determination for this fight, or whether he wants to train on experience, it doesn't really matter. He has to find a way to beat me. And I think that'd be difficult for any fighter on the planet at my weight on their night. So, I got to take my hat off to him, what he's done. I was supposed to fight him. I couldn't look at it and say, well, I was mandatory for his British title many, many moons ago, and he vacated. And we was both. I was just really turning into a man, and he was in his prime. So I was willing to take that chance then. And I'm sure, the shoe's on the other foot now. He's got to take that chance now.
You just mentioned there about, the level you're at and how hard to beat. There's been a few instances coming out of, during lockdown and people then fighting and maybe falling a little short or not being as good as they want. So we've not been able to see anything of you for a long time. What level do you think you're at this very point?
Listen, it's one of them. I've done the best I can and get as fit as I can in the amount of time I've had. I've took myself away for 7 weeks. Put myself for an hour training camp. So I've done what's put in front of me. So, I'm hoping And I'm hoping that, you know, the ring rust is not as rusty as that what it can be. I hope I'm a bit looser and smoother than I've been in previous fights before when I've been out the ring for a long time. So, you know, maybe it's a blessing for Martin Murray. Maybe, you know, it suits him more this fight than me.
Other than the sex, is there anything different that you've done with the new, you know, a new regime?
There's really outdoor sex, plenty of sex in the woods, you know. I think it's good. You know, I've got a naturist near me, and I go down there and that, and, you know, I do the dogging and all stuff like that with the ladies and put myself out there. It's very good. That's how I've been training for this fight, to be honest. You know, in lockdown and some of this fight, sex seriously for stamina.
Nice. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. If we go to John Denham from Boxing News next, please.
Hey, Billy. How's it going?
How we going, John? How are you, pal?
Oh, very good. Thank you. Very good. Obviously, you know, you've had a couple. Well, you were meant to fight Martin, a couple of years ago. You had a couple of fights fall through. Is there any like bad blood between you, or do you have a sense there's some unfinished business? Especially,
Listen,
I guess, when you
listen. Obviously, I can sense frustration from Martin's side. He done 2 training camps and 2 fights didn't happen. It was what it was at the time. At world level, if I was to injure myself now, then I'm not going to take that chance and get in the ring and put, you know, such you know, as my world title on the line. You know, it means everything to me because, you know, I've worked since I've been a little boy for this, and to get here and to get in the ring just because, you know, you're expected to get in the ring and you got an injury. You know, sadly for him, the same injury that I had, the calf, happened twice in both training camps back to back. You know, obviously didn't give it enough time to heal. I rushed back in training because, you know, I wanted to, but I'll give him my word he'll fight me. And, you know, it's a bit later than expected, but here we are. It's on Friday night.
Yeah. And you've, like you said, you could have picked easier opponents for this fight. What?
Well, look, me and my management team, MTK, we sat down and I put some names forward. There was Callum Smith's name put forward, who I put forward. They were Canelo Alvarez. They were Demetrius Andrade's. They were, who else were they now? They were Parker's. Thought I'll get my Mantry out the way, but he was already tied up. All of these fighters were tied up. You know, even when the Martin Murray was put on the table, you know, they were still. I was still pushing for Demetrius Andrade, but, you know, he was tied up, and obviously he's got some sort of shit in the pants job and pulled out because he was supposed to be fighting Dusty, and he's pulled out for some reason. He don't, you know. So really, I wanted a bigger fight, but, you know, as in a name, an unbeaten record and stuff like that, because obviously I know I'm going to get critics saying, "Oh, Martin Murray this, Martin Murray that," but he's coming to win. He never comes to lay down. You know, if Martin Murray came to lay down, then I'd be confident enough to say I'll give someone my old purse because I know it's going to be a tough fight, you know?
Yeah. And in that sense, how dangerous is it? Because you mentioned how big next year could be for you with the Canelo fight potentially.
Because if Martin wins, then, you know, he's sitting in the driving seat. If Martin wins, then, you know, he's got the golden ticket and he sits there and he waits for that. He waits for that chance. If not the rematch. So, you know, financially, it's certainly he's not going to get any better for him. So, you know, good luck to him. I'm happy he's getting paid well, and you know, he's got a lovely family. There's no animosity there with me and him, you know, but I can sense a bit of frustration in him, and if I can get that frustration out of him in the ring on Friday night, I should have a field day.
Excellent. Well, that's great. Thanks very much, Billy. Cheers.
Thanks, John. If you go to David Charlesworth from Press Association next, please.
Hi, Bill. How are you doing?
How we going?
Good, thank you. This fight is obviously a test. You've just said that, an opportunity to get some tough rounds under your belt. So, is this a good thing to have this now before facing a step up in competition rather than going into a unit?
Listen, I would be very disappointed if I went in there and blew Martin Murray away in one round. I'd be very disappointed. I really, really need rounds. I've been out 1 year. I need rounds to go into big fights for next year. brush ring rust off. It's all right going in there and thinking you're going to look good, knocking someone out in 30 seconds, and I'm the man. I'm not going to get much credit for that. I didn't need to get in there, and you can do all the sparring in the world, but getting under them lights, under the real thing, that's what I need to go into these big fights next year. But to step across that bridge, I need to beat Martin Murray, and I know that. So the fight's not yet to happen. We've seen a lot of upsets this year, and Martin Murray's not one of them fighters where you can completely ever write him off. I know I've got a bit of youth on him, but boxing's a funny game. We can look at, if you want to look at youth, you can go back to the David Price fight and Glenroy Thompson, was it? I'm sure I got his name. Maybe right there. Going back to that sort of thing, David had a lot of youth on him, but he still got the win. So, you've got to look at all these aspects in boxing, and you've got to take them into account. That a fight's never won until your hand gets raised in the air.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Just by all that you've just said, maybe looking ahead to next year, would you be happy to go back down to middleweight? I mean, I know you've mentioned unifications. Would you look at light heavyweight, or is your sole focus on the middleweight when discussing these big fights?
Well, listen, it is what it is. I'm up for the big fight. So if there's a big fight at middleweight, I'm sure that I could make middleweight. And realistically, I am a middleweight, but I'm obviously mixing it with the big boys at 12 stone, and I want the big fights at 12 stone. But look, it's one of those. Everybody for middleweight's moved up to 12 stone now, and I think it's the hottest weight division in the world at the minute.
Fair enough. All the best Friday. Cheers, Bill.
Cheers.
Thanks, David. If we go to James Lupton from Pro Boxing Fans.
Yeah, Bill, mate, how you doing?
Well done, James. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, mate. Just want to talk a little bit of outside the ring, your sort of management side and advisory side of things. Got a couple of boys on the card, Donte Dixon, Lewis Edmondson. Is that one eye on the future? Are you sort of looking into that side of things?
I'm certainly looking forward to that side of things in the future at a later date, in a few years yet. But, when you see young talents coming through and, you can spot world elite talent coming through that you believe can be world champions, it'd be nice. It's nice to work alongside them. And I believe that them two, they're managed by myself and co-managed with MTK. I believe that they can be world champions too, guided with the right advice and the right fights.
How important is it for these guys? Because normally they're probably on small hall shows, but with your help, they can get on these bigger shows. How much does that accelerate their progress?
Like I say, to get on these bills, just to be seen on these bills and to be canned for Sky, I think that, that it's very important for even these promoters to see these young talents, because these are the future coming forward. All of the AJs, myself, the Furies, all the big names in the UK, we're not going to be around for the next 10 years. That's for sure, where these guys are. And it's important to get them seen early and get that stamp on them where people go, do you know what? Yep, we'll have him. And, get their careers and guide them on the right path to world titles.
And just the last one from me, Bill. You mentioned about shaking the ring rust. You mentioned about, you've not been in there for a long time. Is that something you considered when considering your opponent in Martin Murray?
Well, it's the same for him. He's been out the ring a long time. So obviously, look, when I'm making, if they're saying to me, right, there's your date, them big fights ain't available, this is who is available for you. I'm looking at the best option on paper that I can get for a fight to get me motivated. And I looked at Martin Murray and I think, well, I know he's going to come to fight. And he's been inactive as well. So, we've both been inactive. So it's one of them, who's going to have the better night. And I believe it's me. And you probably believe it's him. I know he ain't going to enter this fight and sign the contract believing, right, I'm fighting Billy Joe. I'm just going to pick my money up and go home. Because we all know he's not built like that. He's a 4-time challenger for the world title, and I believe that he should have been a 2-time world champion out of them 4 challenges. So, it's not a bad pick.
Absolutely. Nice one. Cheers, Bill.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, James. We'll go to Joe from Seconds Out.
You're right, mate. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. You?
Yeah, good, thank you. So do you think this is going to be the toughest fight of Martin Murray's career on Friday, as it, because he's been in many tough fights before?
Well, it's one of them that I can't. It's not. That's what's happened in the past with him, and all his history that's gone. That's that we're in today's world. We're in 2020 now. So, is it gonna? It's how tough are we gonna make that fight? Is he gonna come and commit? And can he take as much punishment as he did in his prime? He's young, 29s, 30s. I don't know. So. No, I'm hoping that it is going to be his toughest fight, because that's what I'm there for. I'm there to do what no one else has done, and that's obviously, pull a sensational win off, whatever way it may be. But boxing's boxing, like I said earlier on, and no one's guaranteed to win, are they?
And where would you rank him in comparison to the people you fought?
Well, I've never boxed a fellow who's boxed for four world titles before, so. You've got to put him up there, and people's writing him off because of his age. But he's not one of these that sit on the couch. I think he's been doing his personal training. He's been active. He's been training. He's been in the gym. So it's not so he's been up to 20 stone and getting down, and he's not been in the ring for 5 years. The pandemic's come. I think he boxed just before the lockdown. So it is what it is.
Fair enough. And lastly, I know you just mentioned you think it's going to be important to get round, seeing as you haven't been in the ring for so long. Do you think it's more important to sort of look good and maybe win in impressive fashion, or just get the round simply so you're in better shape for when you do face Andrade or Canelo next year?
I think whatever happens, it's important to get the rounds in. I think this fight is going to be rounds, because he's a tough game, cunning old fox. He knows how to get through. He took Golovkin in his prime 11 rounds, and that was when Golovkin was destroying everybody. So that he's always got that know-how about the ring about him, so you've got to take that off to him, and you've got to give him credit, and you have to say that he is going to give me rounds at this stage, because, he's made to do that.
Okay, thanks, boss. Good luck.
Thanks, Joe. If you go to Gary Newman, please. Gary, if you just take yourself off mute. There you go.
Billy Joe, whatever you say, you are expected to win on Friday night, and then hopefully for you that would take you to Canelo. I'm just wondering why you would beat Canelo, and how can anybody beat Canelo in these current times at the moment? What are your thoughts on that?
Why I would beat Canelo and how I would beat him?
Well, how would anybody beat him over the next year or so, the way he looks?
I know how I would beat him, but, I haven't got Canelo next, so I won't be putting that out over, over to the media in other ways. And I've worked very hard on the game plan for the last 2 years on how to beat him. And when someone when they're giving someone 4 to 5 weeks notice, I believe that's not enough time to prepare mentally in your own head to beat someone like him, because of the fact of the judges, promotions, everything's going to be set up to suit him. I mean, what they'll probably do, they'll probably get Callum Smith out there, and for the duration he's out there, he'll probably be doing stuff like this, just rattling on to the media and talking more than rather getting ready and training and focusing on a game plan to win. But Joe Gallagher's a very experienced trainer, so hopefully, Callum's been under the impression and had the news for the long time that he's fighting Canelo, and maybe we see an upset. But at the minute, I don't see no one beating him without a proper training camp and fully mindset.
Looking forward to Friday. You're quite right to say one punch could do it, obviously, but in most people's views, you're going to be a really red-hot favourite. And would you not agree it's not quite as close as the Dubois-Joyce was on paper, even if Joyce was a 3-1 outsider? I mean, it's all stacked in your favour, isn't it?
Well, listen, to be honest with you, it's stacked in my favour on paper. But as we know, paper can burn, paper can be thrown in the bin. The script can be torn up and thrown away. So, I've been inactive for over a year now. My last performance wasn't the best in the world, for Matchroom. But, you know, I'm really looking in my own head and mindset. I know that I need to bring a performance out where people go, well, you know, no matter who were in front of him that night, he still was going to look sensational. So in my own head, that's what's in my head, and please God, I get that performance out and move on to bigger and better things. But at the moment, Martin Murray is I'm putting him down as the number one and me the number two. You know, for me to make sure that I don't slip up.
You've been around a fair old while. Do you appreciate these fights and these situations more now than you probably did earlier?
I've been around a long time, but you know, I just think that you got to be thankful that you know we're allowed to even have any sport in this situation. You know, there's poor people home now. You got like the elderly at home sitting there alone and you know not having no one around them. My nan's at home. You know, no one's allowed around her, and it's a very lonely life for them. And you know, we get the privilege at least looking forward to doing something we love, whether there's crowds there or not. So I've got to really be very, very thankful to my management. MCK has been very, 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 extremely patient with myself and worked alongside me and Matchroom. So I'm happy I'm out, and we've got to be thankful.
Just like to know as well, what you think about fighting in front of no crowds? How strange is that going to be for you?
Oh look, it's one of them. When that bell goes, I don't hear any crowd anyway. You know, I don't box. I'm not a crowd pleaser because out of my 29 fights, if I've took 10 clean punches, then that's a lot. So you know, I don't fight on the crowd's reaction. I fight on my own intelligence and my own know-how.
I'm looking forward to the fight. Good to see you back in action. Good to see you back in the ring. Good luck.
God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, we've got time for one more before we let Billy Joe go. So if we go to Jeremy Hirridges, please.
Hi, Billy. Thank you for taking the time to talk. I'm curious, going into 2021, do you have an ideal number of fights that you would like to see? Or does that not matter as long as you get a unification bout?
Certainly, you know, I want to be active. And that's the reason why I'm fighting Friday night, because if I was worried about that, I'd have went, no, I'll wait to 2021. But, you know, I need to get active to be in the running for these fights and get the rounds in, you know, and sharpen the tools and grease and, you know, the chains and stuff like that. So I need the rounds. But, you know, the main thing is I want to be out at least 3 times going into it. But then that's at least, you know, minimum 3. So, you know, there's big fights out there, and I'm sure that Eddie Hearn can make that. The stable of fighters he's got, and big fights like that.
Final question for me, and I didn't think I'd be asking this one, but you talked about training and about sex. Is it safe to assume that you're not of the belief that sex weakens the knees, weakens the legs, and do you abstain?
It's strong. You do when you do the sex in the woods. You know, like when you're putting your leg over the trees and under the trees and under the bushes, different positions and stuff like that. That's a workout. That's a pure workout, and you're having fun. That's called a fun workout.
So no abstaining from it leading up to the fight whatsoever.
No, just a couple of knee burns.
Sounds good. Thank you, Billy.
No problem.
Right, and on that note, thank you very much, Billy, for your time. We'll see you in the bubble later this week. Cheers.
See you later, mate.
Okay, next up we have Josh O'Reilly, who's obviously in the WBA Lightweight World Title Eliminator with